Welcome in to another episode of Women's Basketball Now here on the Hoop Central YouTube channel. This is Hamilton Neal joining you as always. We thank you, the viewer, as well for taking the time. Also, got another exciting show here today on the channel. We're going to be talking a lot with basketball recruiting. We're going to talk about top prospects, mainly through the 2024 and 2025 classes. A lot of our recent episodes have had a focus on the transfer portal, and we will have another episode coming up very soon on the transfer portal as more players are continuing to move from school to school. But here on this episode of Women's Basketball Now, we're taking a look at some recruiting news. Players that are picking up offers, new interest. Obviously, AAU ball is picking up, and we got that scene going right now. And that's really the big thing going on as far as the recruits go. So the first player that we're going to talk about is Aaliyah Chavez. And if you follow women's basketball recruiting, you've definitely heard of Aaliyah Chavez, 2025 point guard, viewed right now as the best player in the class. She has picked up a ton of recent offers since the AAU season started. Florida State, Mississippi State, Tennessee, UCLA, North Carolina, Michigan, Arizona, Texas A&M, and Georgia Tech have come in. All of those schools have come in with scholarship offers. Her other offers prior to those include Texas Tech, Kansas State, Louisville, Ohio State, West Virginia, TCU, SMU, and Arkansas. Again, just to name a few. Her list has grown exponentially this spring, and there's no surprise to see that. You know, with her game and what she brings to the table, every top-level school in the country is going to be on her. One of the schools interested in her right now is UConn. UConn has not extended a scholarship offer, but they are interested. Again, it's just some early interest. When UConn gets involved with young recruits like this, it's nothing too serious, nothing too heavy yet, just some early interest. But when you look at the scouting report on Aaliyah Chavez and you look at what she brings to the table, the first thing that you see is great court vision. And that's the sign of a great point guard. If they can get other teammates involved, if they can get other players the basketball and give them opportunities to score, that's the first check. That's the first box you got to check, is you have to be a good passer, you have to get your teammates involved, and be unselfish. And as potent of a scorer as she can be, she's very unselfish as a player. Great court vision. She sees all 94 feet so well. She's consistent from the three-point line, at the mid-range as well. She can hit that shot, moves well, creates space for herself and for her teammates. Her teammates are so open because she's drawing so much of that attention. And again, she creates space for them, but also for herself. At the point guard position, that's a very, very huge quality, a very, very huge trait, and something that schools will really be drawn to. Just her entire game. It's complete at this point. Again, she's still developing, she's still getting better on the defensive end and whatnot, but offensively, when you look at the ability to balance scoring and passing, she does that so well. And it's no surprise to see all these schools coming in with scholarship offers, and again, some heavy hitters. You look at Arizona, UCLA from the Pac-12, Texas A&M from the SEC, you got Michigan, North Carolina, the list goes on, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some of the other big-name schools jump in. Again, UConn is interested. It's going to be a while until they offer players here in 2025 because their 2023 class is pretty much finished. Their focus on that class isn't as big at this point. They're really looking at 2024, as all the schools are right now. 2024 recruits are kind of in the middle. Those are the players that they're focused on. But eventually, 2025 players are going to come into the focus and come into the picture a little bit more. And one of the first players that they would offer, I would presume, would be Aaliyah Chavez. At least I would offer her first among all the players here in the class of 2025. But this is a very strong class for guards. And another point guard that you really got to keep your eye on is Kelis Fisher. Out of Roland Park High School at 5'7", again playing that lead guard spot. She plays for Team Thrill on the UAA Circuit, the Under Armour Association Circuit, and she has picked up some recent offers from Oklahoma, St. John's, and George Washington. UConn has watched her at some of her recent AAU games. You've seen Geno Auriemma watching her. You look at UConn's interest level. It's pretty big at this point because there were some rumors coming out that UConn had extended a scholarship offer to Kelis Fisher. That is what was reported first. But again, now it's been confirmed that it's just interest at this point. But the interest level is pretty high for a player this young. Again, out of the 2025 class, just like Aaliyah Chavez. And like Aaliyah Chavez, Kelis Fisher has a very, very good offensive arsenal. Her pull-up game is so consistent from the mid-range. She can just stop on a dime. When she's coming up in transition, she can just stop and pop and hit that shot. Very, very good in that regard. Working on her three-point shot. Her three-point shot isn't there yet, like her mid-range game is. Her mid-range game is so solid, it's so consistent, but she's getting better with the three-point shot. If you can get it from the mid-range, you're eventually going to get it going from downtown as well. So I definitely feel like she's going to be a consistent threat from there. Again, quick in transition. She has a great first step. Out of all the point guards here in this 2025 class, and out of all of them that I'm scouting right now, she has a great first step, maybe the best first step of any point guard. She has that hesitation to her game. She finds the open player. Just like we talked about with Chavez, you've got to have the ability to get other teammates involved. And Kelis Fisher does that very well. Again, finding the open player in the corner for a three-point shot, back outside on the wing if she's going in on a drive. And if I were to compare her to a player at the college level right now, it would be Zia Cooke from South Carolina. I see a lot of similarities between kind of the up-tempo style that Zia Cooke plays with and kind of the up-tempo style that Kelis Fisher has. I really do see a lot of similarities between those two. And I don't really like to compare players that much because they're all so unique and different in their own way. But I do see a lot of Zia Cooke in Kelis Fisher. And out of Maryland, which is a very, very high-level state for basketball recruits and girls basketball teams, Roland Park's going to be one of the best because they have Kelis Fisher at the lead guard spot. And I would presume she's going to be in the top 25. Once espnW puts out their rankings for this class, ASGR has their rankings out right now. Aaliyah Chavez, by the way, is number 1 in those rankings. And Fisher, out of the state of Maryland, isn't even viewed as the number 1 player in that state right now. But I could see her continue to rise the rankings once the 2025 rankings come out for all of the sources, espnW, Prospects Nation, etc. I could see her definitely as one of the top 25 players, no question. I think she's a top 15 caliber player in this class, just with the offers that she's bringing in and the interest that she has. Again, from the UConn Huskies. When you get interest from UConn this early in your process, that's very, very impressive. So add Kelis Fisher down to the list of targets for UConn here in the class of 2025. And again, it's a very limited group at this point. But again, we've talked about a number of players. Zanaya Zealous is a player that UConn is following. Obviously, they have a lot of interest in Chavez. And now Kelis Fisher has been one of the biggest names out there on the AAU circuit. Obviously, the Maryland Terrapins, who are in state, they're going to be a huge factor. Brenda Free stopped by, watched some of her games. And her offer list, isn't huge at this point. But again, it's starting to build. George Washington, St. John's in Oklahoma, some of the schools to step in there. So that's what's going on with some of the 2025 recruits, Aaliyah Chavez and Kelis Fisher. Now let's talk about a couple of 2024 front court prospects, some of the best in the entire class. Blanca Thomas and Kate Koval. Both have picked up recent offers from the national champion South Carolina Gamecocks. Blanca Thomas, 5-star post player, one of the best in the entire country, ranked in the top 10 according to espnW. Just some of her other offers include Louisville, Kentucky, North Carolina, Oregon, North Carolina State, Florida State, Georgia, and Georgia Tech. UConn is also recruiting her. They're extending some interest at this point. Again, no scholarship offer on the table, but again, there is some interest there. And as for Kate Koval, she has a very impressive list of offers and interest as well. You got UConn, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Duke, Stanford, Maryland, Louisville, West Virginia, Villanova, Michigan, Boston College. You just go down the line. So many schools involved here, and for good reason. Obviously, when you look at both of these players, you stand 6'5" if you're Kate Koval. Blanca Thomas stands around 6'5" as well. Both are different, though. Their skill sets are different in the fact that Blanca Thomas is more physical on the inside, backs you down with the power, has that length and that strength on the offensive end to impose her will and to score at will. On the defensive end, she can alter shots, not just block shots, but alter shots as well, and impact the game in that way. So she does have that two-way ability, not just offensively to make an impact, but also on the defensive end. And Kate Koval is 6'5", a little bit leaner, a little bit more versatile, can step outside, hit that jump shot. That's obviously a big part of her game. She can definitely go inside as well, back you down just like Blanca Thomas can, but she's a little bit more versatile on the offensive end right now. Again, with the ability to kind of hit that 15-foot jump shot, extending her game all the way out to the three-point line. So you really do see a contrast here between these two players, Blanca Thomas and Kate Koval. Blanca Thomas comes out of Charlotte Catholic High School, one of the best programs in the state of North Carolina. You see some players get recruited out of there. And a lot of the players that get recruited out of NC are in the Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham area, and also in the Triangle as well. That's where you see a lot of the higher recruitments come. With India Navarre, for example, going to Stanford out of 2022, was out of the Raleigh area. We've seen some players out of Charlotte get recruited to high-level programs, and she's going to have her pick. Any school she wants to go to. When this recruitment's all said and done, she's going to have every option on the table. And same thing for Kate Koval, with the interest and offers that she has. Again, we mentioned UConn, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Stanford, Maryland. Top programs littered all over that recruitment right now. So it's going to be interesting to see what all of these recruits bring to the table. Again, for 2024 and 2025 recruits, things are just starting to get going. For 2024 prospects that have that big list of offers, like a Blanca Thomas, like a Kate Koval, the recruiting hasn't been as serious yet. We haven't seen a ton of visits, things like that. It's just offers and interests have been added, and players really start to focus on that summer before their junior year, during their junior year, and it's around that time where those two players in particular are going to have to focus on the recruiting a little bit more. And as for players like Aaliyah Chavez and Kelis Fisher, the recruiting isn't going to get too serious yet. Again, they're super young, they're still developing, they're still just trying to get better as players, and the recruiting really shouldn't be a focus right now. But it is, no matter what class you're in, no matter how young you are, you're going to be recruited. As young as sometimes 7th grade, 8th grade, into freshman year of high school, schools are going to try to push the process along. Now, as for top programs, they're just going to extend some early interest and just let you know that they're going to be there. But it's not going to get too heavy until maybe junior year, summer before junior year, something like that. So the timeline for these players, it's still going to be a ways away until we see visits, until we see final lists, things like that. So purpose of this podcast here today, purpose of this episode is just to give you a little bit of insight on what's going on with some of the top recruits in the country. Aaliyah Chavez and Kelis Fisher from the class of 2025, Blanca Thomas and Kate Koval from the class of 2024. That's all the time we have in this episode of Women's Basketball Now here on the Hoop Central YouTube channel. We thank you, as always, for taking the time to join us. Stay tuned for more here on the channel coming up very soon. This is Hamilton Neal signing off. I'll see you next time.